All right, let's dive in. We're tackling Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow Quadrant today.
Oh, interesting choice.
You guys know the drill. You sent us the excerpts,
Yeah,
so we'll break them
it
down.
makes sense.
Hope you get the gist of it.
Cool.
Now, I know a lot of you are already familiar with the 4 quadrants, right?
Right.
E for employee,
Yeah.
S for self-employed or small business, B, big business owner, and I for investor.
Got it.
But we're going to go a little deeper here.
Okay.
We're going to unpack some of Kiyosaki's more, shall we say, controversial ideas
All right.
and see how they might apply to your own journey with money,
Love it.
your financial journey.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Kiyosaki really emphasizes
Yeah.
is this idea of mindset.
Absolutely.
He doesn't just tell you what to do.
Yeah.
He pushes you to really examine your whole philosophy around wealth.
It's not just about the actions. It's about
Yeah,
the way you think about money.
exactly.
That-
And that can be really powerful, I think.
Oh, for sure. It can be totally transformative.
Yeah, for example,
Yeah.
he makes this bold claim.
Mm-hmm.
Your house is not an asset,
Oh, here we go.
right? Most people will be like, wait, I own it. It has value. How is it not an asset?
Right.
But his logic is that a house doesn't generate income, right?
Okay.
Instead, it consumes cash.
For
Mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance, all that.
those lovely expenses. Yeah.
You're basically indebted to the bank.
Yep.
And let's not forget the government.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love those property taxes.
Right, through those property taxes.
Exactly.
So he's really challenging that conventional wisdom.
Yeah. And here's where it gets even more interesting, though.
Oh, tell me.
Kiyosaki actually profits from people not understanding this.
Oh, wow.
He uses something called tax lien certificates
Okay.
to buy homes
Mhm.
cheaply
Yeah.
when owners can't pay those taxes we were just talking about.
Okay, so he's playing a different game entirely.
He is, yeah.
It's not just about owning property. It's about understanding the financial systems behind it
Yeah.
and using those to your advantage.
Right. And again, this isn't necessarily a recommendation for our listener to run out and start buying tax liens.
All right, right.
But it is a great example
yeah.
of how different quadrants they think about exploiting financial systems
They're playing the game differently.
for their own benefit.
Yeah. So he's a contrarian thinker, for sure.
Big time.
Another example
Mm-hmm.
is his stance on diversification.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Right.
Most financial advisors, they're all about don't put all your eggs in one basket.
I brought it out.
Spread it out, right?
Yeah. Well,
Kiyosaki's like, hold on a minute.
hold up.
He actually disagrees with diversification.
Interesting.
He actually prefers concentrated investments.
Huh.
His argument, and it's very similar to investors like Warren Buffett,
Oh, okay.
is that concentration, it forces you to really understand your investments.
You gotta do your homeworks.
And it allows for faster growth.
So it's about deep knowledge,
Yeah.
not just spreading yourself thin.
Exactly.
So it's a more active, engaged approach,
It is, yeah.
not just diversify at all costs.
Blindly following the mantra.
Yeah.
And that brings us to, I think, one of his core beliefs.
Okay.
This idea that the name of the game is who is indebted to whom.
I remember the first time I read that, I was like, huh.
It's a head scratcher for sure.
But then it kind of clicked.
Yeah.
He's saying the more people you have indebted to you through businesses, investments, the wealthier you are.
Right.
So it's about being on the side of lending money and receiving that interest, not borrowing and paying interest.
Think about the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh, yeah.
Wall Street. They got rich by indebting millions of people
Through
these complex mortgages
Yeah.
that people didn't really understand.
that's a very clear example of that in action.
Stark example.
So how do we avoid ending up on the wrong side of that equation?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
What's Kiyosaki's advice for the average person?
Well, he hammers this home over and over again, financial literacy.
Got it.
He says it's so important to move beyond just seeing dollar signs
Right.
and actually understand how the system works.
The mechanics of it.
Yeah, you need to be in control, not the other way around.
Yeah.
He wants us to move from using 95% eyes, 5% mind to its inverse
Turn that around.
when it comes to money. Yeah.
He also emphasizes that it's not just about technical knowledge, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about
emotional intelligence.
He even claims it's 90% of financial success.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
But it's true. Think about it.
Yeah.
Fear of losing money,
Mm-hmm.
taking shortcuts, blindly following advice.
Yeah.
Those are all emotional traps.
They are?
That's why even high earners can be financially insecure.
Interesting.
Their mindset hasn't caught up to their income. They might be great at making it,
Yeah, they're good at making the money,
but not at managing it.
not at managing it.
He tells this great story about a friend who looked rich.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
Fancy car, big house,
The whole 9 yards.
but was drowning in debt.
Yeah, appearances can be deceiving.
Classic cautionary tale.
For sure.
So before we go any further,
Yeah,
I kind of want to rewind a little bit. Talk about Kiyosaki's own journey.
absolutely. His story's fascinating.
Because, he didn't just magically become this financial guru overnight,
Right.
right?
No, not at all.
He had a whole career before all of this.
Multiple careers, actually.
Didn't he even work for like a company that sold nylon surfer wallets at one point?
That's right. Before he started investing and all that.
That's wild.
It is, yeah.
So his own experience, moving from employee to entrepreneur, really underscores the whole message of the cash flow quadrant.
It's all about transitioning to the right side, where the B and the I are.
Okay, so let's break that down. He was a Marine Corps pilot, then a Xerox salesman, and then this small business owner making those wallets.
That's quite a path.
It is. It seems like the classic be your own boss dream, right?
Right.
But didn't he say he actually failed at being a small business owner, like early on?
He did, yeah. His first attempt at entrepreneurship was a total flop
Oh, wow.
because he hadn't mastered those B skills yet. The true business owner skills.
Interesting.
He was still operating with an S mindset, basically.
Still trading time for money.
Yeah, not building systems that could work for him.
So that's a crucial lesson right there. Simply being your own boss doesn't guarantee success.
Not at all.
You need the right mindset and skills to really thrive.
This is a trap a lot of people fall into.
How so?
They rush into self-employment thinking it's ultimate freedom,
Right.
but without the right foundation, it can be overwhelming.
You haven't built that solid base.
Exactly. Kiyosaki learned that the hard way.
Yeah. So what does it take to really make that leap from S to B? What really distinguishes a successful business owner?
Well, Kiyosaki highlights a few things.
Okay.
First, it's about building systems.
Yeah.
A, true B. They create a business that can run without them constantly being involved.
So it's not just them doing everything themselves.
No, they delegate tasks,
Okay.
hire and manage employees.
They've got a team,
Yeah, and they're focused on the big picture,
not just the day-to-day grind.
not just the day-to-day, exactly.
So it's about working on your business, not just in it.
Precisely.
I like that.
The second thing is leadership.
Oh, interesting.
AB inspires and motivates others
Okay.
to achieve that shared vision.
So you got to rally the troops,
You got to rally the troops, yeah.
get everyone on board.
Create a culture of success, empower their team to contribute their talents.
It sounds like moving from S to B is about a fundamental mindset shift, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. You're not just responsible for your own output anymore. You're leading a whole team towards a larger goal.
And that takes a specific set of skills.
For sure.
Communication, delegation, strategic thinking, the ability to inspire, motivate others.
And these aren't necessarily things you learn working solo as an S.
So if our listener is thinking about making that jump to B,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them based on what you've learned from Kiyosaki?
Well, first, I'd say assess your skills, honestly.
Okay.
Are you good at managing people? Can you delegate effectively? Are you comfortable with taking risks and making those big decisions?
So it's about knowing your strengths.
Yeah, and if you're not strong in those areas,
Yeah.
maybe it's time to develop those skills before taking the plunge.
Get some practice.
Get some practice, exactly.
And what about the financial aspects? What should someone consider before launching a business?
Kiyosaki really emphasizes understanding financial statements.
Right.
He believes everyone should be able to read a balance sheet and an income statement.
He makes a good point. If you can't understand your own finances,
Right.
how can you expect to make smart decisions for a business?
Exactly. And he also highlights that most people, they focus too much on income, not assets.
Oh, interesting.
They think a high salary equals wealth.
Right.
But it's really about what you own
What's working for you?
and what's working for you in the background, yeah.
It's kind of like that friend we talked about earlier, big income, but no real assets to back it up,
Just a bunch of liabilities.
masquerading as wealth.
Exactly. Kiyosaki wants us to be more like banks.
Be more like banks.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that a kind of scary thought?
He's not saying we should become greedy, heartless institutions.
Okay.
He's pointing out that banks, they understand how to leverage money and create wealth.
Ah,
We can learn from their strategies.
So it's about adopting the mindset of a savvy investor,
Exactly.
not necessarily turning into, like, Gordon Gekko from Wall Street.
Precisely. And he emphasizes taking control of our financial education. He encourages everyone to seek out knowledge beyond what's taught in traditional schools.
Yeah, he's pretty critical of the whole go to school, get a job, work for 40 years, then retire mentality, right?
He thinks we need to be way more proactive about preparing for our financial future.
So it's about taking ownership,
Yeah,
not just relying on the system.
exactly.
But what about those of us who are comfortable in our E quadrant? You know, we have a job, we're happy. Is there any value in Kiyosaki's teachings for employees?
Absolutely. Even if you're content with your job,
Yeah.
understanding the cash flow quadrant can help you make smarter decisions about your money.
Okay.
It can encourage you to think about building assets outside of your job.
So it's not about demonizing employees.
No.
It's about understanding the limitations and potentially exploring other avenues for building wealth.
It's about broadening your perspective on money and taking control.
Right, and that's empowering.
It is.
It's about taking control of your finances, regardless of where you are.
Exactly. And it all starts with mindset.
And speaking of mindset, I think we should talk about one of Kiyosaki's more provocative statements.
Oh, which one? He has a lot of them.
He does, but this one always gets people talking savers or losers.
Oh, yeah, that one definitely ruffles some feathers.
It does. But wait, doesn't he also talk about, like, building an emergency fund?
He does.
Isn't that a form of saving?
He does advocate for having an emergency fund, but he views it as a safety net,
Okay.
a foundation for taking risks and pursuing opportunities.
Not about just hoarding money in a low-yield savings account.
Exactly. He wants us to think about putting that money to work, not just letting it sit idle.
So have enough cash to cover unexpected expenses, but don't just hoard it. Invest it in assets that have the potential to grow.
That's the idea.
Okay, so it's a more active, engaged approach to money management.
Right. He wants us to become savvy investors, not just diligent savers.
He believes that informed investing is the key to building long-term wealth. But isn't investing risky, especially in today's market?
He acknowledges that any investment strategy has risks.
Sure.
He encourages readers to educate themselves, seek professional advice.
Do your homework?
Yeah, and make informed decisions based on their own risk tolerance.
So it's not about blindly following his recommendations.
No, not at all.
It's about taking what works for you, adapting it to your own circumstances.
Exactly. He's a thought leader, not a financial guru.
Right.
Who claims to have all the answers.
He's giving you a framework.
He wants us to think for ourselves, to question conventional wisdom, and to find what truly works for us.
So while Cashflow Quadrant provides this framework for thinking about money, it's really up to each individual to decide how to apply those principles.
Absolutely. It's about taking ownership of your financial journey,
Creating a path that aligns with your goals.
your values, your whole situation.
And that's a great point, I think, to transition into another important aspect of Kiyosaki's teachings.
Okay, what's that?
The importance of setting financial goals.
Ah, yes. Goals are crucial.
He believes that having a clear vision of what you want to achieve
Absolutely.
is crucial for staying motivated and on track.
It gives you something to aim for.
He encourages readers to identify their why,
Their why.
the reason behind their desire for financial freedom.
Oh, I see. Their motivation.
Yeah, their motivation.
That's a good point.
He believes when you have that strong why,
Yeah.
you're more likely to overcome those obstacles and achieve your goals.
It gives you that extra push.
It does. And he recommends setting SMART goals.
Smart goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
I like that.
Yeah.
Having those well-defined goals helps you stay focused and track your progress.
And he also emphasizes breaking down those large goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Makes them less daunting.
It does. He often says a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
That's so true.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress.
Progress over perfection.
He encourages readers to celebrate those wins along the way
Yeah.
and to learn from the setbacks.
Because there will be setbacks.
Oh, for sure.
That's part of the journey.
So it's not just about setting those goals. It's about having a plan
Right.
and taking consistent action.
Then staying motivated, staying persistent, even when it gets tough.
He talks about the burning desire,
Oh, yes.
a strong, unwavering commitment to those goals.
That fire in your belly,
Exactly.
you gotta want it
You got to want it.
badly enough to make it happen.
Now, another thing Kiyosaki talks about is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Ah, yes, your network.
Your network.
He believes that your network can either support you
Yeah.
or sabotage you.
He encourages finding mentors,
Mentors, advisors,
advisors, people who have achieved what you want to achieve.
people who have walked the walk.
He often says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's a powerful statement.
So be mindful of the company you keep
Surround yourself with those who will lift you up.
and those who have that positive attitude towards money.
And those who encourage your dreams.
Exactly. Because negative influences.
They can really hold you back.
So it's about being intentional with your relationships.
Building a network that empowers you.
Now, before we wrap up this first part,
Yeah.
I want to touch on one more crucial aspect of Kiyosaki's teachings,
Okay.
the emotional side of money.
Oh, interesting.
He argues that our beliefs and attitudes play a huge role in our financial outcomes.
Our mindset.
Our mindset, exactly. He believes that our thoughts create our reality.
Especially when it comes to money.
He encourages examining limiting beliefs about wealth and replacing them with empowering ones.
So, like, if you believe rich people are greedy or that you're not good with money, you're less likely to take action to build wealth.
Right, those beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Exactly.
He wants us to cultivate a positive relationship with money. See it as a tool for creating the life we desire.
Shifting from scarcity to abundance.
So it's not just about learning financial strategies.
No.
It's about rewiring our brains for success.
Our mindset is our most valuable asset.
I love that.
Cultivating a positive attitude can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great note to end on for this first part of our deep dive into Cashflow Quadrant.
Sounds good to me. So we left off talking about, shifting your mindset around money.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue into this next section.
Okay.
Where we talk about actually, taking action.
All right, let's get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to have a positive attitude, but it's another thing to actually, make moves.
Absolutely. You got to walk the walk.
And Kiyosaki's Cashflow Quadrant really gives you a roadmap for that.
It does. It provides a framework for taking action.
And remember, we talked about how Kiyosaki's own journey underscores this whole idea of moving to the right side of the quadrant.
The B and the I.
Right, the business owner and the investor.
Those are the money makers.
So let's say our listener is, intrigued by this idea.
Okay.
They want to make that move. Where do they even begin?
Well, Kiyosaki would say, start by understanding the fundamental differences between the mindsets of each quadrant.
Okay.
For example, someone stuck in the E or S mindset, they often focus on job security or individual effort.
Right. It's all about, trading their time for money.
Exactly. But a B, a true business owner, they think in terms of systems and leverage.
So instead of directly trading time for money,
They're building something that generates income.
even when they're not working.
Even when they're not working. Exactly.
That's the dream.
It is.
And then the I mindset, the investor.
Yes.
They understand how to make their money work for them.
Not the other way around.
But isn't that just for people with, a ton of money already?
That's a common misconception. Kiyosaki would say that's a limiting belief.
Okay.
He stresses that it's not about how much you have, it's about your financial IQ
I like that.
and how you use the resources you do have.
So even with a small amount of capital,
Yeah,
you can start thinking like an investor.
absolutely.
But how do you even, develop that mindset
It's a process.
if you've always been an employee?
Well, Kiyosaki encourages seeking out financial education beyond what's taught in traditional schools.
Okay.
Read books, attend seminars, find mentors
Find people who are already successful.
who are already where you want to be.
So it's about being proactive,
Yeah.
taking control of your own financial education.
Not waiting for someone to hand you the answers.
And this is where I think some of Kiyosaki's more controversial ideas come into play.
Oh, yeah. He's not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom.
Like his statement, savers are losers.
Yeah, that one always gets people riled up.
But wait, isn't saving a good thing?
He's not saying saving is BAD. He's saying that saving alone isn't enough.
Especially with inflation.
Especially with inflation, yeah.
Eating away at the value of money.
He's a much bigger proponent of investing
So it's not about just hoarding cash. It's about putting that money to work.
in assets that have the potential to grow.
Okay, so invest in things that will outpace inflation.
Exactly. And he's a big believer in real estate.
Real estate.
He sees it as a powerful tool
For generating passive income.
and building long-term wealth.
Hold on. Didn't he also say your house is an asset?
He did.
Now he's telling us to invest in real estate.
It's about the type of real estate.
Okay.
He makes a distinction between a personal residence, which he views as a liability, and an income-generating property.
So like a rental property.
A rental property, yeah.
Okay.
Which he considers an asset.
Because an asset puts money in your pocket.
Precisely.
A liability takes money out of your pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this is where the concept of leverage comes in.
Leverage, okay.
Kiyosaki emphasizes using other people's money.
Other people's money, like loans.
Like bank loans, to acquire those income-producing assets.
So you're not limited by how much cash you have on hand.
You can use debt strategically to amplify your returns.
That's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
It is, yeah.
And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, understanding financial statements. He believes everyone should be able to read a balance sheet and an income statement, regardless of their goals.
It's about being financially literate.
I gotta admit, that's one area where I could use some improvement.
It can be intimidating.
But knowledge is power.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got real estate, investing, financial literacy. These are some key strategies for moving to the right side of the quadrant.
They are, yeah.
But what about the B side, the business owner?
The entrepreneur.
What advice does he have for those aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
Well, one of his biggest pieces of advice is to start small.
Okay.
And learn from experience.
He doesn't believe in waiting for the perfect opportunity.
No, he encourages action.
Even if it means making mistakes.
Even if it means making mistakes.
That's encouraging, especially for someone who might be hesitant to take that leap into entrepreneurship.
He believes that failure is part of the learning process.
You got to fail to succeed.
Exactly. View setbacks as opportunities for growth.
So don't be afraid to experiment, to try different things.
Exactly. And he also talks about the importance of finding mentors.
Oh, yeah. Those people who have been there, done that.
People who have achieved what you want to achieve.
So it's not just about reading books and taking courses.
It's about getting real-world guidance.
From people who have walked the walk.
And it's about taking action, even if it's just small steps.
He often says the best way to predict the future is to create it.
I love that quote.
He wants us to be proactive, take charge of our destinies.
And create the lives we desire.
It's a reminder that we're not just pawns in this game.
We have the power to make choices.
Create our own outcomes.
And that ties back to his emphasis on mindset.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Our thoughts and beliefs shape our reality.
Especially when it comes to money.
If you believe you're destined to be broke, or that rich people are evil,
those beliefs will probably manifest.
They become self-fulfilling prophecies.
So he encourages us to challenge those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and replace them with empowering beliefs that support financial success.
He's all about that abundance mentality.
There's enough wealth to go around.
Anyone can achieve financial freedom.
It's about shifting our perspective.
So it's not just about learning the strategies, it's about like rewiring our brains.
Exactly. Our mindset is our most valuable asset.
I love that.
Cultivating a positive attitude can make all the difference.
Absolutely. So it sounds like he's advocating for a very holistic approach.
He is.
Where mindset, skills, actions, they all work together.
To create the outcomes you desire.
Kiyosaki's Cashflow Quadrant is definitely a powerful framework.
It is, for sure.
And it's clear he's passionate about helping people achieve that financial freedom. But what about those critics out there?
The naysayers.
Yeah, the naysayers.
Yeah.
Who say his strategies are too risky.
Well, it's important to remember
that
Kiyosaki is offering a perspective.
Okay.
Not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
His approach might not resonate with everyone.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
So it's not about blindly following his recommendations.
No, it's about taking what works for you.
It's adapting it to your own situation.
Exactly. He's challenging us to think differently.
To question the status quo.
And to create our own paths.
And that's a valuable message, no matter your background.
Absolutely.
Or your aspirations.
Ultimately, Kiyosaki wants to empower people to take control of their financial destinies.
He believes that financial freedom is within reach for anyone
who is willing to put in the work.
To educate themselves, to believe in themselves.
And to take action.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this second part.
We have.
We've explored Kiyosaki's strategies for moving to the right side.
The B and the I.
We've delved into the mindsets of successful business owners and investors.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of his more controversial claims.
Like savers or losers.
Exactly. But there's still more to explore.
There is.
In part 3, we're going to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And delve into Kiyosaki's use of monopoly.
Monopoly. The board game.
The board game.
I am intrigued.
As an analogy for wealth building.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
It's going to be fascinating to see how he connects those dots.
I can't wait.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant.
And we're talking Monopoly.
Monopoly!
It's not just a game, right?
Well, according to Kiyosaki, it's a pretty powerful analogy.
For understanding how wealth works.
Exactly.
All right, I'm ready to play.
So one of the things he emphasizes is this phrase,
Yeah.
4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel.
Ah, yes, the classic Monopoly strategy.
Right. What's the significance of that in Kiyosaki's world?
It illustrates the power of passive income.
Okay.
In Monopoly, you aim to acquire properties,
Right, buy those railroads.
build them up with houses and hotels,
Collect that rent.
generate that sweet, sweet rent.
So Kiyosaki argues that building a portfolio of income-generating assets in real life works similarly.
It's the same principle.
The more assets you own,
Yeah.
the more cash flow you generate.
Just like collecting rent from your Monopoly properties.
So it's not about just hoarding money, it's about putting it to work.
Making it work for you,
And that's the essence of that I quadrant.
the investor.
Exactly. And the Monopoly analogy really helps to, like, visualize that, wouldn't you say?
It makes it tangible
Yeah.
instead of this abstract concept.
He also uses the game to highlight the importance of understanding financial statements.
Oh, yeah, you can't play Monopoly blindfolded.
Right. He literally says, if you can't read a balance sheet or an income statement, you're playing Monopoly blindfolded.
It's a great analogy.
It is, because it makes you realize, like, how many people are essentially doing that in real life
Playing the game of money without understanding the rules.
without knowing the score.
Yeah, making moves, but not really in control.
And that's what Kiyosaki wants us to avoid.
He wants us to be financially intelligent players.
Not just rolling the dice and hoping for the best.
Exactly. We need to understand the strategies.
Different paths to victory.
Because in Monopoly, there are different ways to win.
Right. Some people focus on acquiring as many properties as possible
Others focus on developing a few key properties.
to maximize their income.
And Kiyosaki argues the same is true in real life.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
It's about finding what works for you.
Your goals, your risk tolerance.
So you're not just blindly following his steps.
Right. It's about understanding the principles.
Adapting them to your own situation.
Now, obviously, real life is more complex than Monopoly.
For sure.
More players, more variables, more risks.
Life throws curveballs.
But Kiyosaki's point is
Yeah.
that the underlying principles of wealth building,
They still apply.
he's trying to, like, demystify this world
Make it accessible
and show that anyone can understand it,
and apply those principles.
no matter their background.
And it's important to remember
Yeah.
that financial literacy is an ongoing process.
It's not just a one-time thing
It's a lifelong journey.
of learning and growing.
The more you learn about money, the more empowered you become.
He also stresses the importance of experience.
Learning by doing.
Take those calculated risks.
Experiment,
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
because that's how you learn.
And he talks about having that strong financial foundation.
Just like in Monopoly,
If you don't have enough cash to cover your expenses,
you'll go bankrupt.
so build that emergency fund, reduce debt, create a solid base.
From which to build your wealth.
And just like in Monopoly, sometimes you got to team up with other players.
Ah, the power of collaboration.
Right. So Kiyosaki emphasizes building a network,
Of mentors and advisors.
people who can guide you and support you.
Leverage their expertise.
Because it's not always about going it alone.
Okay, so we've had some fun with the Monopoly analogy.
It's a great tool.
But it's important to remember that real-world wealth building, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
It takes time.
There will be ups and downs.
Challenges, setbacks,
But Kiyosaki's message is one of, like, perseverance.
resilience.
Stay focused on your goals, learn from your mistakes.
And never give up.
He believes success is not just about the strategies, it's about the mindset.
That abundance mentality,
Persistence, unwavering belief.
that you can achieve your goals.
And ultimately, that's what Cashflow Quadrant is all about.
Empowering people to take control.
To create the life they desire.
Financial freedom is within reach.
For anyone willing to put in the work.
To educate themselves, to take action.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Cashflow Quadrant, I think the biggest takeaway is to really shift your perspective on money. See it as a tool.
A tool to create the life you want.
Not something to be feared or worshipped.
And to understand that financial literacy, it's not a luxury.
It's essential.
It's about taking control.
Not being a passive participant.
And lastly, To remember that building wealth,
Yeah.
it's a journey,
With ups and downs.
but with perseverance, a willingness to learn, and maybe a little bit of strategic monopoly playing.
You can achieve those goals.
Financial freedom is within reach.
So, to our listeners,
It's your turn to play the game.